Before the Garden of Eden, there was only the infinite expanse of the cosmos, a void of darkness and chaos. Yet, within this void, there was the presence of the divine, an eternal and omnipotent force that existed beyond time and space. This force, known as God in the Judeo-Christian tradition, was the source of all existence, a being of pure love, wisdom, and creativity. In the beginning, God decided to bring order to the chaos. With a word, light burst forth, separating the darkness. This was the first act of creation, the birth of the universe. Stars ignited, galaxies spiraled into being, and planets formed in the vastness of space. Earth, a tiny blue-green orb, was among them, but it was formless and empty, covered in deep waters and shrouded in darkness. Before Earth was fully shaped, God created the heavenly realm, a dimension of pure light and perfection. Here, God fashioned the angels, spiritual beings of immense power and beauty, to serve as messengers and caretakers of creation. Among them was Lucifer, the light-bringer, the most radiant and favored of all the angels. Lucifer was entrusted with great responsibility, tasked with overseeing the celestial choirs and maintaining the harmony of the heavens. But pride began to grow in Lucifer's heart. He became enamored with his own brilliance and began to question God's authority. He whispered to other angels, sowing seeds of rebellion. "Why should we serve when we could rule?" he asked. A third of the heavenly host joined him, and a great war erupted in the heavens. Michael, the archangel, led the loyal angels against Lucifer and his followers. After a fierce battle, Lucifer, now called Satan, the adversary, was cast out of heaven, along with his rebellious angels. They fell to the earth, which was still formless and void, and their presence brought a shadow of corruption to the newly created world. Despite the fall of the angels, God's plan for creation continued. The Spirit of God hovered over the waters of earth, and God began to shape the planet into a sanctuary of life. Mountains rose from the depths, rivers carved their paths, and the seas were gathered into their basins. Lush forests sprouted, and the air was filled with the songs of birds. The sun, moon, and stars were appointed to mark the days and seasons. God then created the animals, great beasts of the land, creatures of the sea, and birds of the air. Each was designed with care, a testament to God's creativity and love. Yet, something was missing. The earth needed stewards, beings who could reflect the divine image and care for the creation with wisdom and love. By the sixth day, the earth was teeming with life. The skies were filled with birds, the seas with fish, and the land with animals of every kind. Yet, amidst this vibrant tapestry of life, there was a profound silence, a longing for a being who could reflect the divine image, a steward who could care for creation with wisdom and love. It was on this day that God chose to create humanity, the crowning jewel of his work. God descended to the earth, not in a physical form but as a presence that could be felt in the very fabric of creation. He knelt in the soft, fertile soil of a vast plain, where the earth was rich and red, a symbol of life and vitality. With his own hands, God began to shape the dust of the ground into a form unlike any other, a human being. This was not a hasty act but a deliberate, intimate process, as if God was sculpting a masterpiece. The body of Adam was formed with meticulous care. His bones were strong, his muscles perfectly balanced, and his skin smooth and radiant. His face bore the imprint of divine artistry, with eyes that would one day behold the wonders of creation and a mouth that would speak words of praise and wisdom. Yet, Adam was more than just a physical being. He was a unique blend of the material and the spiritual, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. When the form was complete, God leaned down and breathed into Adam's nostrils the breath of life. This was no ordinary breath. It was the very essence of God himself, a spark of the divine, the source of life and consciousness. In that moment, Adam's chest rose, his heart began to beat, and his eyes fluttered open. He was no longer a lifeless form but a living soul, filled with the breath of God. Adam's first breath was one of wonder. He opened his eyes to a world of vibrant colors, sounds, and scents. The sun warmed his skin, the breeze carried the fragrance of flowers, and the songs of birds filled the air. He stood, unsteady at first, but quickly gained his footing. He looked around, taking in the beauty of the world around him. God spoke to Adam, his voice gentle yet filled with authority. "Welcome, my son, you are the first of your kind, the steward of this world. I have given you dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and every living creature that moves on the earth. This is your home, and it is good." Adam felt a deep sense of purpose and belonging. He was not alone, for God was with him, walking beside him in the cool of the day. Yet, there was a longing in Adam's heart, a desire for companionship, for someone who could share in his joy and his responsibilities. God led Adam to a special place, a garden unlike any other. This was the Garden of Eden, a paradise crafted by God's own hand. It was a place of breathtaking beauty, where every tree, flower, and stream seemed to sing with life. The garden was enclosed by a natural barrier of mountains, and a river flowed through it, dividing into 4 great rivers that watered the earth. The trees of the garden were laden with fruit of every kind, sweet, succulent, and nourishing. Among them were 2 special trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The tree of life stood at the center of the garden, its fruit glowing with a soft, golden light. It was a symbol of eternal life and communion with God. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, on the other hand, was a test of obedience and trust. God said to Adam, "You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will surely die." Adam understood the gravity of these words and resolved to obey. Adam's days in Eden were filled with joy and purpose. He tended the garden, pruning the trees, watering the plants, and ensuring that everything thrived. He named the animals, observing their unique characteristics and behaviors. As he named them, he realized that none of them were like him, none could be his true companion. God saw Adam's loneliness and said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." That night, as Adam slept, God performed a miraculous act. He took one of Adam's ribs and closed up the place with flesh. From the rib, he formed a woman, Eve. When Adam awoke and saw her, he exclaimed, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." Together, Adam and Eve lived in perfect harmony with God and creation. They walked with him in the garden, learning from his wisdom and basking in his love. They cared for the garden, ensuring that it remained a place of beauty and abundance. They ate from the trees, drank from the rivers, and enjoyed the company of the animals. Unbeknownst to Adam and Eve, the shadow of the fallen angels loomed over Eden. Satan, consumed by envy and hatred, sought to corrupt God's masterpiece. He took the form of a serpent, the craftiest of all creatures, and slithered into the garden. There, he found Eve near the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. "Why has God forbidden you to eat from this tree?" the serpent asked, planting doubt in Eve's mind. "You will not surely die," he lied. "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Eve, tempted by the serpent's words, ate the fruit and gave some to Adam. In that moment, their innocence was shattered. They became aware of their nakedness and hid from God. The harmony of Eden was broken, and the shadow of sin entered the world. God, in his justice and mercy, confronted Adam and Eve. He pronounced consequences for their disobedience, pain in childbirth, toil in the fields, and eventual death. Yet, even in judgment, there was hope. God promised that one day, the offspring of the woman would crush the serpent's head, a prophecy of redemption. Adam and Eve were banished from Eden, and cherubim with flaming swords were placed at the entrance to guard the way to the tree of life. The world outside the garden was no longer a paradise. It was a place of struggle and hardship, yet it was also a place where God's plan for redemption would unfold. And so, the story of what happened before the Garden of Eden is not just a tale of creation and fall, but a prologue to the grand story of God's love and the redemption of all things. Adam's creation was a profound act of love and creativity. He was not just another creature but a being made in the image of God, endowed with reason, will, and the capacity for relationship. His formation from the dust of the ground symbolized his connection to the earth, while the breath of God represented his spiritual nature. The Garden of Eden was more than just a physical place. It was a symbol of God's desire for intimacy with humanity. It was a sanctuary where God and man could dwell together in harmony, a foretaste of the eternal communion that would one day be restored.